Warning: the views and beliefs in the following program does not reflect the views of Boom Broadcasting. We give full creative control to our creators and do not believe in cancel culture. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey there, guys. I'm Michael Davis. I'm obviously behind the mic today and would love to talk. Obviously, Thanksgiving is next week, and you're going to notice on Boom, there's going to be a lot of content that's a little more sporadic. Some creators have decided to still give you guys content, and then others have decided to take either a day off or a show off or a week off, and that's 100% supported. And I am a huge advocate for taking time to yourself to reflect, to be thankful, to spend time with family, and to really recenter yourself. And I think that's a huge part of this week. Now, I know like next weekend, I'm going to be celebrating Thanksgiving with my family. Me and my dad are going to watch a Cowboys game. But then me and my dad are going to a wrestling convention Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that is how we're going to spend the Thanksgiving holiday. So I might pre record an episode next week of The Man Behind the Mic to drop on that Saturday. If not, don't be mad. But I wanted to take this time to list out some things to be thankful for because it is, at least for me, it's easy to just sit here and one thing go wrong and be like, "Woe is me." Like I can't catch a break, and there's definitely been those days. Pretty recently too. But I think it is so important to remember why we're thankful. And so I actually have a list of 10 things I would like to share with you guys that I'm thankful for. And some of them are pretty obvious, and some of them, aren't quite the ones that you would expect me to say, but here are my list of things that I would love to say that I'm thankful for. And I might touch on these a little bit. They have an overlap for a reason. And one of the things that, everybody's thankful for is family. I mean, that's a pretty obvious one. How could you not be thankful for your family? And there's people who probably don't have a family who they can be thankful for. Maybe they grew up in a broken home. Maybe they don't know their parents. Maybe they're an only child and wish they had a sibling. I mean, there's so many other scenarios. There's foster kids who have bounced from home to home to home. That's not my story. My story is my parents, met. That is the only marriage they know. They had me, they had my two younger siblings, and I have always known this house to be a house of love. And I am very grateful for that because as I grow up and, I may, you know, have interactions with other friends and I realize that's not what everybody grew up with. So that is something I don't like taken for granted at all. And so family is a huge part of it. And honestly, you couldn't share a lot of the other things I'm thankful for without mentioning my family or my friends. So my second one would be uh, friends or a community. My friends and community are huge. I remember back in middle school, I wasn't necessarily, that most popular kid, and I realized I would get the most attention from friends if I was the funniest one, or if I was doing something silly, or if I was using like self-deprecating humor, and that took, shape in, my later years too after middle school, because 'cause I'm like, this is the way I find acceptance. And that wasn't a great strategy, by the way. Don't do that. Um, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that the friends in my life really value me for me. Either the way I carry myself, my heart, common interests, which we'll, touch on here in just a second. Um, I can tell that It's not about lowering myself or making somebody else feel bad about themselves. It's about how I lift others up or try to. And that's what I hear most resoundingly when it comes to friends. And, I was homeschooled for high school. So a lot of it came from a screen. Like, I would be on my computer and, I'd have these message board groups or on Facebook, and you'd talk to different people and you'd meet different people. And that was a community based off common interests. But now it's okay, I'm going to church, or hey, I'm out in the community. Hey, I have a work friend. There's various different ways I've met a lot of these friends, and it's cool because you have your acquaintances, you have your friends, you have your close friends, and then you have your friends who are like family. And so you can't really go through this list without mentioning those two. Um, and I mentioned some of the common interests we have are, one of them being pro wrestling. I'm wearing a pro wrestling hoodie. You see the Funko Pops, you see the action figures, you see the posters, you see the picture. Me, my brother with the NWO. I won my earlier WrestleCades. Like, how could I not be thankful for pro wrestling in so many different ways? Now, this isn't Drop the Mic. This isn't a wrestling podcast. This is a podcast about life. But pro wrestling is a huge part of my life. Ever since January 2005, going to my first ever wrestling show, getting to experience that with my dad, getting to experience it with my mom and my brother. Later on, my sisters went to a few shows with us. From watching my first ever WrestleMania 21 uh, in the living room for, I dropped a Drop the Mic episode a couple weeks ago about Eddie Guerrero's passing. That was the first time I was introduced to death and learning how to cope with that. From commentating wrestling shows now to going to these conventions with my dad, having that quality time with my dad that I look forward to every year. And I hope we continue doing it year in, year out, Thanksgiving weekend, because that means a lot to me. I mean, and even with pro wrestling, like in the day to day life, there's so many different shows, there's so many different programs, and it doesn't matter what's happening in life. I know I can turn on wrestling, whether it's from that day, from the day before, from years and years ago. I can turn on something and just escape life and all the hardships, all the troubles. I know if I need a pick me up, I can turn on pro wrestling and find that escape. And so pro wrestling is huge for me. I am super thankful that exists and it's accessible now. It's no longer territories. It's global, it's worldwide. It's, streaming. You don't have to pay 60, 70, 80 bucks for a pay-per-view. It's available on Peacock for 5 to 10 bucks a month. It's available on cable TV. You can just go and click on it. You don't have to watch it right at 8 o'clock anymore. You can go back and watch it anytime. All of these things has helped me cope with some of the hardest times in life and bond with my dad, as well as the thing I'm thankful for. The fourth is sports. Sports is another thing that I've been able to bond over with my dad. Been able to bond over with different friends, get into some heated arguments, some heated debates. But one of the things I come alive with is doing out of pocket. That's had so many different iterations, from switching channels to switching days to going from pre-tape to live to going from 30 minutes to an hour to going from 1 day a week to 4 days a week. And it's just, it's been big and it's been huge and it's been such an uplifting way. Um, I mean, people ask, like, my favorite teams, like Dallas. I know that's 3 hours a week with my dad. I know that's a couple podcasts a week with my dad. We're going to drop Dad and the Boys here later this afternoon. You have the Miami Heat Don't have many friends who are Miami Heat fans, but when we do, we have a connection. Texas Rangers. A guy sent me a World Series or All-Star game hat of the Texas Rangers. I'm looking at it right now. He sent it to me just because he knew I was a Rangers fan. You have Duke. Dad and I are going to a Duke game later tonight. We just watched the really late Arizona Duke game, which turned out very well for us. There's all these little moments that sports has allowed an experience and bond with other people, and that's why I'm thankful for it. And so I've said family, I've said friends, I've said pro wrestling, I've said sports, um, and let's get a little silly with this one. FaceTime. I've been able to hit all of those things on FaceTime. Now, if you know anywhere where I live, I tell you I don't live in the middle of nowhere. I live on the top of middle of nowhere. And there's a lot of my friends who like pro wrestling or like sports or, you know, have other common interests with who don't live in driving distance of my house for whatever reason. I have several friends in Charlotte. I have several friends on the coast. I have several friends in Texas. You just also start looking at the Boom Broadcasting team. I mean, Mike lives all the way out in Arizona. Sean lives out, closer to the coast of North Carolina. You have Wayne and Jason up in the northern states. You you just Chris DeLuca as well. Uh, Aaron, just moved away from Boone, so I can't go and drive to, hang out with him anymore. I mean, there's all these different ways, and I was FaceTiming someone last week, and I just realized I was holding my phone, and I was like, you know what, this is cool. Like, I can have a connection with somebody, FaceTiming them on my phone, and it's just a phone. Like, to anyone else, this is just a phone, but I can have the same amount of emotions. I can have the same amount of feelings. I can have the same conversation. But I know as soon as I hang up or that person hangs up after I say something out of pocket, no pun intended, it's just a phone. But this has a means of connecting you. I'm very thankful. And of all these things, it's about a connection that has been awesome to see. Um, and I really think, yeah, I love the audio call and like talking. This is what I prefer sometimes. It's a little more old school, but there's something about seeing a face, seeing somebody's expression, um, versus just a text message. Those can be taken out of context way too many times. So, as silly as it sounds, I am very thankful that we have a feature like FaceTime. Unless you're an Android user and you're not as blessed or thankful as I am, I'm an iPhone and I really enjoy FaceTime. Um, and I really love the privacy ish of having my own room, which is, if I'm keeping track, that is number 6 on this list. This, by the way, is in no particular order. It's just the things I am thankful for. But a room of my own, which sounds silly, right? So I, you know, lived at my parents' house, all the way through community college, and went to App State. Had my own room there, had roommates in the apartment. It was a 4-bedroom, and that was great. It was nice, and then afterwards, I moved back home, and after that, not too long after, I went and worked at a camp and lived at the camp. And I had a roommate in my room for a good chunk of time, whether that was for a summer, whether that was for a season, and then ended up moving in and having my own room in what they called the Boomer Wide, and it was nice. But obviously, like when I left there, obviously had to leave the actual housing situation. Went to my grandmother's for a time before I went in the hospital. And then when I came back from the hospital, I moved back with my parents, but I didn't really have a room. It turned into a storage room. They didn't really expect their son to come back and live with them. Um, but they made all the different accommodations for me that I was very thankful. But one thing that really, really, really helped me mentally was when I got better, when my health was good, I was able to, you know, look at my room and I just walked in, saw like a huge storage room. And me and my whole family helped over the course of a few weeks, time and time. We had a lot of stuff to do, including like all these shows that you see. But no, I had a vision for my room, and I knew when I got my room, I would feel more planted. I mean, I had a job locally. Uh, I really enjoyed time with my family. I know this is a very key and crucial time. I'm loving the church I'm at now. Um, all of that, and then just having this sense of your own room and something you have more control over. And you got the podcast studio here, you got the bookshelf in the back, you got the posters hung up over the wall, you got TV, you got PlayStation. I mean, it's just you got drawers to where you put your clothes. It's all in all so fantastic that I have a room to myself and a room that I can call my own and be able to either work and write articles or do podcasts, or I can just rest and watch TV and play PlayStation. Hearing some stories of people not really having their own room, or hearing stories of people like sharing a room this size with like 6, 7 people is absolutely wild to me. So it's nothing I take for granted, because it is really nice to have a place where I do love community, I do love friends, I do love family, but I can also come in here and just take a breath and recharge. It's really good for me. Um, and so one of the things that led me to my own room is obviously the health scare um, last August. So last fall was tough. Not going to get in the full story. It's available on here, Boom Broadcasting with the man behind the mic, if you guys wanted to see it. Um, but you never know. You never know you're missing your health until you don't have it, and how grateful you can be for your health. I mean, it blows my mind, in reading the Bible, um, like Jesus healing, all these different people, and you're like, great, what about me? Kind of deal. Um, and then when he actually does, it's like, wow, he's still here. He's still performing miracles. I am good. I am healthy. And I feel great. Like, this is an awesome feeling to have. And so I think we take our health for granted all the time. I mean, I remember having my collarbone and, having it in a sling and, having to do everything one-handed. I couldn't do it. Now, I mean, like, now now I'm holding the mic with one hand, but I need my hand to move around certain things. Like, I couldn't do this podcast. I wouldn't be the man behind the mic. I'd have to have it on the boom set or the tripod or something. So it is really, really crazy when you like realize, part of your body isn't working, and how much you need that entire body to fully function. And after last year, after the prayer, after God healing me, Nakia Koloff looked at me and said, "Hey, anytime you feel a shot of pain, just say, 'Thank you, Lord, for my healing.'" And I'm thankful for my healing and for my health, because without this, I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now. So it's a really, really, really important part of my life and of my journey. Um, and I wouldn't be able to, have my health. I wouldn't be able to have a lot of these things without, you know, my next thing on the list, number 8. I am very thankful for having a faith, having my faith and, having a relationship. And again, this isn't a shove Christianity down your throat, but if you understand my journey, if you understand the healing that I had to go through, like, I'm thankful for my faith, my Christian faith, my relationship with God, because that is a huge part of who I am. It has changed me. I used to be very introverted, very recluse. I don't love the word shy, but I would say shy. And, when I became a Christian, it started opening up. I was, you know, less, in that depressive state. Um, and it it was just a whole new life breathed into me. And then, that led me to what another thing I'm thankful for that I'll touch in a second, like my job journey. Like, I can see the handprints on my life from just having that faith to where I am now. Because where I am now, I could not have gotten to without that foundation of faith. Um, Also, the church I'm at now, like, incredible community. I've gotten a lot of friends from there. The Christian camp I worked at, my best friend met him there. Met several other great people there as well. Like, and I never worked there if I'm not a Christian. So that is wild to me. The weight room revival. I never get healed if I'm not a Christian. And if I'm not willing to go to that weight room revival 2 hours away. So it is a huge part of my life, is my Christian, belief and faith. And then I alluded to it for a second ago. My ninth thing is my job journey. I was homeschooled for high school, and that's where I learned I wanted to do this broadcasting stuff. And I went to the community college and took that public speaking class. And I was like, okay, and you can tell this is starting to be a journey. And I've mentioned this on another episode, so I won't go too far in depth to it. But you take that and then you join SGA and you're the SGA president for your final semester there. And you stay an extra semester and you were SGA president. Um, and had a sense of ownership with that. And then you go to app and you don't really work at app, but you take this intramural class and you're like, okay, let's officiate some intramurals, and this is fun. This is awesome. Taking charge, taking control, getting more confidence in myself. I'm working at this YMCA camp over the summers. Spent 7 years there. Got to, help someone else make that decision to follow Jesus, which is super great. Help several others after that. I'm learning how to, work with kids. I'm learning how to live with other people in a cabin. And, the days are hot, the days are long. You're having to work through some conflict resolution, whether it's camper and camper, or whether it's, you and your co-counselor, or you and your best friend. I mean, there was so much there. Um, and then you're going from a cabin counselor to, program assistant to, producing a 24/7 online radio station that has not and will not be duplicated since my departure, because nobody can do it like me. And it really, 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 makes you look. And then last August, when my time there ended, I looked around and was like, what's up? Like, where do I go from here? Especially, going through that whole, applying places, not hearing back, getting ghosted, not getting through the interview, or getting offered the job and not feeling like you should take it. And then my health goes through. And then it's like slowly, like, I end up getting that job at Fans First, that I still have and is very flexible to my schedule. Um, and then I go to this, bakery here locally, and the owner's like, I'd love to offer you a job. It's yours if you want it, but I don't think you should take it. I think there is something better in store for you. But he's like, I want to help you out. If you want it, take it. And then maybe within a week or 2, the job I had at the co-working facility opened up, and started that in April with a podcast studio and having all these different connections. And, all while, I had the job, at the local station, remote, based out of Winston-Salem, and, doing all that. And I was like, "Man, I'm doing this wrestling pod, I'm doing Out of Pocket, I'm doing, Panthers pod." And I was like, "Wow." And me and Mike are talking. I talked about this on Drew Code Sports Talk. The whole interview is on their YouTube channel. Go check them out. Cody, I appreciate you, my friend. That was a fun interview, and I can't wait to, keep collabing with you, because there will definitely be more. Um, but I'm talking about it, and I'm like, "Wow." Like, Mike's encouraging me, and, we stay up all night, and we're like, "We can do Boom broadcasting." And we do it. And through all of this, I can see certain seasons where camp, I needed to grind. I need to go and live on my own, but not be totally on my own. I needed those relationships, conflict resolution. I needed to be in a position where I took ownership, and I could be silly. I could let myself loose. And then with the co working facility, I was like, I need to be a little more professional, but I need to take what I learned at camp and apply it here. And I've seen a lot happen there. And it's also worked really well with my schedule in order to do Boom broadcasting effectively and efficiently. And now I know that the next job I'll have, because I know I won't be, at that co-working facility my entire life. I know that. I know that the next position is going to be the next step, and the next job is going to be the next step. And I had to work at the co-working facility. I had to work at camp. I had to work in intramurals. I had to be SGA president. I had to be homeschooled. I had to go through all this stuff in middle school to make it there. And so I'm very thankful for my job journey. But you look at all 9 things I've listed, from family, friends, pro wrestling, sports, FaceTime, a room of my own, my faith, my health, my job journey. You can't be thankful for any of this stuff. You can chalk it up to coincidences. You can chalk it up to, oh, everybody has this in this area of the world. Like, it's nothing special and da da da. You can't be thankful for any of these without the last thing I'm thankful for. And it feels really weird to say it, but hard times. This is American Dream, Dusty Roads, hard times. You don't know, hard times. This is where you are tested, is during the hard times. This is where you're tested. This is where your faith's tested. This is where friendships are tested. This is where your connection with your family's tested. This is where you go to escape, pro wrestling sports from the hard times, so you can make it through. This is where you FaceTime your friend and you're like, "Hey, I need you." This is where you get on your knees and pray and you use that faith. This is where you are very thankful for your health, because you have had to endure those hard times. There's the room of your own, to where you can recharge and think and retool and just sort out life's issues. This is where your job journey, to where when you lose your job, to where, you make a career change, maybe you have to move towns as well. If it goes back to the hard times and it propels you to the next season of life, it's worth it. It's worth it. And I truly believe that. I am thankful for the hard times, because I can sit here and reflect on it with the man behind the mic. I can open up about them. I can talk to you guys. Boom Broadcasting is probably not here without the hard times. I'm not here without the hard times and getting through it. And, there's been some stuff that's popped up here recently, that's, that's a lot more challenging, or took me by surprise. And there's been people like Shannon, there's been people like Jason, there's been people like my dad, and several others who have looked at me and they're like, this is nothing. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it feels like the sky's falling. They're like, if you could make it through the hard times, if you could make it through last year, you're fine. You're fine. You'll be okay. God got you through there, He'll get you through here. And so, without having that rock and without having that monument I talked about a couple weeks ago on this show of the hard times and how I'm still standing or sitting, I'm sitting. My back's hurting a little bit today. Uh, the hard times allows me to be thankful for everything I've mentioned so far. And so that is why I can take Thanksgiving this week, celebrate with my dad through sports, through wrestling, go to a Heat basketball game, go to uh, a wrestling convention, go to or watch a Cowboys game, go hang out with family, go to work on Monday. Like all of these things I can be thankful for heading into Thanksgiving. So I want this show to be an encouragement to you. If you guys are, kind of in the same boat as me, honestly, of like, man, I can't get a win right now. What's going on? Focus on what you're thankful for. Focus on all of the good, and be thankful for the bad, because it's setting you up for something better that you cannot see down the road. So keep pushing, keep fighting. And guys, this episode, we may do another show next week, and it'd be pre-recorded, obviously, because I have a very, very, very busy week ahead of me. But if not, this episode will be back 2 weeks. This isn't to promote Boom or anything that we do. Um, I'm very adamant about that. This isn't also about sports. This isn't about wrestling. This is a show about life. But just know next week, we're really encouraging our content creators to do what they feel led to. I'm not forcing them to take off a week. I'm not forcing them to do a show. I'm like, hey, if this is therapy to you, if this is something you really enjoy, if this is something you can handle and still be able to be thankful for the rest of the things, by all means, feel free to do it. And if not, you know what? That's totally okay. And we'll get you back on air in December. So be mindful, be thankful of that as well, because these guys are doing the best they can and running themselves into the ground to do it. So I very much appreciate them, and they all deserve a break, or whether that's a break doing the podcast or a break from the podcast. I'm very thankful for you guys as well. So I guess that's number 11 that I'm thankful for, guys, and I appreciate y'all, the audience. There's 12. Sorry I told you 10 at the beginning, but I'm thankful for you guys for supporting this journey and supporting this endeavor that I'm just blown away by right now. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all. And guys, I'll catch you next time. But this has been the man behind the mic.